This is Mr. Jelly, and I'm here with the Dutchman. Yeah, you can say hello if you want. Hi. So, that sounded like Chewbacca already, which is awesome because this week and probably next week or the week after that, we are going to do Star Wars episodes, and we are going to call them Star Wars for Dummies, because most of the people that are gonna watch Star Wars: The Force Awakens still haven't watched the other movies and probably are too lazy to go watch them.
Like me.
Like him, yes. We gotta do a Star Wars for Dummies episode, so we're gonna do it in 2 videos, like I said, because otherwise this video will take way too long. So this week we're gonna talk about episode 1 till 3. I would say, let's start, shall we?
We shall begin. So the Star Wars universe is all about good versus evil. You have 2 armies in these 3 movies of today. The Clone Army versus the Droids Army. Also, you have 2 groups, the Separatists, the evil group, and the Republic, the good group. That's the base of what we are going to talk about today. Both sides also have powerful beings on their sides, which can use the Force, a power of the Star Wars universe. The Republic has the Jedis, which use the good side of the Force, and the other side, the Separatists, have the Sith, which use the dark side of the Force. More explaining about the Force and all those shit in the second Star Wars for Dummies.
So after our great explanation about the Star Wars universe of the Dutchman, I'm going to start talking about the first Star Wars episode, called The Phantom Menace. First, before I talk about the story, there was a big fuss about the movie. I mean, like, it was I'm fucking serious. People even went to watch movies
just for the trailer.
To see the trailer. I mean, they walked in, watched the trailer, and walked back out. They didn't even see the movie. I mean, how? And then it was such a shitty movie. Yeah. But never mind about that. Let's talk story now. So this story is all about Qui-Gon Jinn and his student Obi-Wan Kenobi. You might know him as the master of Darth Vader, but later more about that.
That's my
So, a war is raging. Of course, it's called Star Wars. I mean, of course there is a war raging, but this is rather a small war. So it's on the planet of Naboo, a green planet with lots of water and plants and animals and whatever. And it's ruled by human-like, I don't know what. I mean, that's the problem about the Star Wars universe. They never really explain their aliens, if you ask me. So sometimes they're pop-up humans everywhere. You're like, what the fuck? But, okay. So there's a war raging and 2 Jedis, well, a Jedi and his Padawan were sent there to save the day because the other Jedis apparently didn't give a fuck. So they were sent there to save Naboo. But of course it wouldn't be a movie if everything doesn't go wrong at first. Everything goes so wrong that they have to flee off the planet and they have to land on a pirate planet, Tatooine. Also the birthplace of Luke Skywalker, but more important in this movie, the birthplace of Anakin Skywalker.
The father of Luke.
Yes, spoiler alert, but I mean it's not a spoiler anymore. The movies are out so long, just fucking watch them already. We don't even need to put the spoiler sign anymore. But Anakin Skywalker lives there and he's a slave. And Qui-Gon Jinn finds out that he is a really powerful Jedi. And they found out that he's born without a father, so she never had sex with a father or whatever. and still was born, and they find out that his force capacity, yeah, I think that's correct. Capacity is very big, even bigger than Yoda's, and Yoda is like the supreme Jedi.
No, he's so small.
So Qui-Gon Jinn really gets interested in Anakin, and meanwhile the war on Naboo rages on, everything goes even more sour. And a new Chancellor gets chosen. You might wonder why I tell you this, but this Chancellor is really important in the rest of the story. Meanwhile, they go back to Naboo to finish the war, and then Sith appears, I could say. Yeah, he makes his first entrance. Because every Jedi thought that the Sith were dead, but apparently they're not. And it's Darth Maul, and yeah, just in the end they have a cool fight, Qui-Gon Jinn versus Darth Maul, and Qui-Gon Jinn dies, and then Obi-Wan finishes off Darth Maul, and Anakin becomes a student of Obi-Wan like we know it, and that's the end of the movie. Yeah, the war also stops because otherwise you can't have a good end. And Jar Jar...
Here it comes, guys.
Yeah, I didn't put him in the story directly because I want to point out that I hate him. He's even worse than the Ewoks. I mean, Jar Jar he's the worst. But Jar Jar actually helps with the war at Naboo.
Yeah, that's why I like him. He's funny,
Yeah, he's not funny. Shut up. But yeah, that's it. So Jar Jar gets senator, Padme gets senator, yeah, the queen of Naboo is called Padme Amidala, and she gets creepily in love with the 10-year-old boy Anakin. But enough about that, more of that in the second movie. So this was our first movie, so War at Naboo, gets introduced to Obi-Wan, that's basically it, and he gets the Master of Anakin. That's the first part of Star Wars. What's important of it, I think.
Yeah, that is. A few years passed, and Anakin is almost fully trained as Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones begins. The Sith Lord, which is like the Lord of the Sith, I mean, obviously has a new apprentice, a rather old Sith, but yet a powerful one, Count Dooku. And they have a plan to start one big war, which will be called the Clone Wars.
By Yoda. Just saying. Nobody else calls it the Clone Wars except for Yoda, but...
That's Yoda. Meanwhile, we find out that Anakin is in a relationship with the senator of Naboo, Padme Amidala. While it's forbidden for a Jedi to have a relationship.
Because love bad. Sorry.
That's what Yoda says. Also, we get a first touch of Anakin's dark side. He kills a whole village, also children and women, because some pirates killed his mother. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan finds out that Master Sifu Dyas set up a project to make an army of clones. Based on Jango Fett, a famous bounty hunter.
Also father of Boba Fett, for the ones that don't only watch the old movies. Yeah, you can go on.
They are ready for war. From that moment on, everything goes wrong, and Anakin ends up fighting Count Dooku and loses, which costs him his arm, and Yoda, the leader of the Jedi, has to help him as war starts.
The Clone Wars. I'm going to talk about what might be the most important episode of the first three movies, and also my favorite Star Wars. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Why is it my favorite Star Wars, you would ask? Well, it's the Star Wars movie that got me into the universe. I was still little when it came out, because I'm not a fucking old fucktard. I mean,
Yes, you are.
I'm only 20, and it's not that old.
Yes, you are.
Shut up. And it was actually a really great movie. I also went to see it in the movie theater with my dad back in the day, and it was awesome. So the movie starts in the middle of the Clone Wars, and Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting in space in cool ships that you never saw before, but those were actually my favorite ships ever. And they're on a mission to rescue Chancellor Palpatine. Chancellor Palpatine is that new Chancellor I talked about in the first movie. which appears to be Lord Sidious, the Dark Evil Overlord, where my good colleague over here, the Dutchman, talked about in the second movie. But Anakin saves him and then has to fight Count Dooku again. This time he wins and cuts off his head. An arm for a head, you would say? No. It's just Palpatine that is in his head talking and saying, "You should kill him, you should kill him." Do it. You probably know that if you've ever been on YouTube, you know the do it videos.
Yeah.
If you don't, I will leave a link of it in the description so you can laugh with it as well.
Yeah.
Story goes on. Anakin wants to be part of the Jedi Council, which is like the leader council of the Jedis. That has a supreme leader as well, Master Yoda, because he's the strongest Jedi of all. Yoda doesn't trust Anakin at all, with his dark side brewing up even more and more. And Yoda says no. It's like, oh, hell no! And Anakin doesn't really like it. He goes to Palpatine for help, and Palpatine is like, yes, okay, I will bring you into the Jedi Council because you're my friend, old buddy. So he gets into the council, but Yoda doesn't give him any power, which makes Anakin actually angry because he wants to grow as a Jedi because he's afraid of losing Padme, like he lost his mother. Because he has nightmares of her losing her while she's giving birth, and he had the same nightmares of his mother right before she died.
Yeah.
So he's really scared. And what Yoda always says, fear leads to anger, and anger leads to the dark side. So that's why Yoda actually doesn't trust him at all. Meanwhile, Obi-Wan goes off on his own mission, but I'm not gonna go into that. Although Obi-Wan is my favorite character, but I just think that Anakin's story is more important to the overall story now than Obi-Wan's story. So Anakin stays home while several Jedis go to the battlefront to fight in the Clone Wars. And Mace Windu also stays at home with a handful of Jedis to protect the temple. Anakin gets so close with Lord Sidious, Palpatine, you know who I mean? It rhymes. He gets so close with him that he actually finds out he's Lord Sidious, the Dark Overlord that they were looking for so long. So he tells Mace Windu, and Mace Windu gathers the Jedi that are left there and goes off to kill Lord Sidious. He almost succeeds, but then Anakin stops him, and Lord Sidious is able to kill Mace Windu. And Anakin embraces his dark side and becomes Darth Vader, like we know him and love him, or probably not love him because he's evil. But he becomes Darth Vader anyway. Then on the battlefield, Order 66 gets executed, a famous order where the clones have to actually wipe out the Jedi. So many Jedis fall, you see them dying everywhere. But of course Yoda and Obi-Wan escape because they're awesome. And Obi-Wan finds out that Anakin is now on the dark side and he wants to go stop him. Meanwhile, Anakin is on a volcanic planet. I don't remember the name, but it doesn't matter. The only thing that is important is it's a volcanic planet. So Obi-Wan goes to ask Padme where he is. She knows it. He goes there. Padme sneaks aboard of his ship. And she appears there and is like, Annie, what are you doing? And then Annie almost kills her with all this anger. Good old Annie, we all love him. Killing his own wife and shit. She is fainted. Obi-Wan starts to fight with him in what is the most epic Star Wars battle I ever saw in my entire life. I don't care what people say. I don't care if people say Luke versus Darth Vader was better. Nope. I don't fucking care. Anakin versus Obi-Wan is still the best battle I ever saw.
I'm with Jelly this time.
Maybe I'm gonna see a better battle in The Force Awakens, but until that time, Obi-Wan versus Anakin, best battle
ever.
They go toe to toe, they're equally strong, it's awesome to see. And Anakin loses.
Yeah.
Not because he's weaker than Obi-Wan, because he wasn't thinking
clearly.
Yeah.
Straight.
He didn't have a good strategy while Obi-Wan was prepared.
Yeah.
So Obi-Wan cuts his legs off, he falls down, and he gets burned by the lava. He's burning and Obi-Wan just grabs his sword and he's like, you were like a son, like a brother to me. and
No, I think
there's
he's
a brother.
more like a son.
No, it's a brother. Anakin sees him as a father, but he sees Anakin as a younger brother. And Anakin yells, "I hate you!" Well, good work, dipshit. Now you're burning. Obi-Wan saves Padme from the planet, and then she gives birth to Luke and Leia. And they decide to protect Luke on Tatooine, so Obi-Wan goes with him and becomes Ben Kenobi on Tatooine, and they decide to keep Leia hidden because Darth Vader doesn't know they had twins. So he wouldn't come looking for her
as well.
Yeah. And there's a funny theory why they place him on Tatooine, but more of that maybe later. And then the only thing that is rest is that Lord Sidious finds Anakin and builds him his robot suit. He wakes up as Darth Vader, as we know him.
With the mask.
They're
glow.
Half robot shit.
Yeah.
And he looks at Lord Sidious and he's like, "Where is Padme?" And he's like, "Yeah, you killed her, you fucking twat." They didn't say it like that, but it would have been funny. But then Anakin actually has no other choice anymore than to just embrace the dark side and fully become Darth Vader. So that was episode 3. I know it's rather long that I talked about it, but it's just the most important episode of all to the rest of the movies that are coming next time. So I think that's just because Darth Vader is playing such a big role in The Force Awakens, that's why I want to really concentrate on his story. Well, my friends, this was Star Wars for Dummies, episode 1. Next time you will see us doing episode 2, of course. It would be strange if we would do episode 3 all of a sudden. So next time we will be talking about Star Wars episode 4 till 6. The story of Luke and Darth Vader like we know and love. I want to thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It will really help us out a lot. And we reached 150 subscribers, which was my goal. So after New Year, I will do a giveaway, but more of that after New Year. Goodbye.
Feeling the need to watch workout videos to get pumped, and let's start with fitness to then just give up because we all know you will, and then watch Yu-Gi-Oh videos instead. Then we have the perfect channel for you, Edsel, a channel of a friend of J Movies. So check him out, and why not sub and watch this stuff like you should with us.
You lazy fuck.
This was J Movies for the week. See you all next time, my friends. Bye.
Goodbye.